You're making excuses. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Strong Female Athlete Podcast. I am here again, solo, and of course, it is a Saturday. I love recording these episodes on Saturdays because I don't really have anything else to do after this except do chores around my house, and I just like to be in this headspace where I can just focus on the episode and talk to you guys about what we need to talk about today. And today's topic, we are talking all about getting your female athlete motivated. I get asked all the time, Erica, how do I get my daughter motivated to work on her skills, to do her speed training, to eat healthy? And we're going to get into all that today. And I really want you to stay around to the end because I have 4 top solutions on how to get your female athlete motivated. And a lot of them aren't what you think. Now, I have some exciting news to share before we get into today's topic. I got my new track spikes in, and they are Under Armour, which I normally don't do Under Armour for sports footwear. I am more of an Adidas girly. My cleats were always Adidas. My shoes are Adidas. But my sprint coach told me that these are the best, and they are. I know nothing about track spikes. I'm running in the 60 meter in a little over a month from now in the Team USA World Championships in Gainesville, Florida, and I just got my spikes, haven't really broken them in yet. I'm kind of winging it, but any athlete who is serious about what they're doing or passionate about their sport will make things work. And that's going to tie all into today's topic on motivation. So I'm excited about these track spikes. And I'm sure a lot of you are like, why are you training for a 60 meter? Okay, let me take you back to high school when I did track for a season. Yes, I did do track. I ran sprints, and my speed coach at the time was like, you need to be on the track team because you would crush the 200 meter, you would crush the 4x400 meter. Like, you need to join the track team. And he also was the coach of the team, so he was just trying to recruit all of the soccer players. I'm glad I said yes because track was such a cool experience for me to really just take my speed to the next level and really refine my sprint mechanics and to get a sprint exposure consistently. And I learned a lot about what it's like to do an individual sport. So my first track meet was kind of a disaster. Well, not really. In the end, it ended up working out. But I show up to the venue for my first meet. So I'm running in the 200 meter, and then later in the day, I'm running in the 4x4 relay. I am so nervous because I am so used to being on the field with 10 other players in soccer, and not all eyes are on me. I am freaking out. So before my first event, the 200 meter, I am in the bathroom puking because I'm nervous. I am just like, my stomach is so sick. The venue we were in, it was indoor track, so the air was really dry and musty, and it just like, I just didn't feel good being in there, and I didn't feel good waiting hours to do my event. That's another thing with track meets is I'm just like sitting there, like just freaking out about when I'm running and that moment, just that anticipation of getting on the starting block. And that's another thing. I had never learned how to start from a starter's block. And we didn't even work on this at track practice. Like, I didn't even know I had to do starting blocks. Like, it was such a mess. And I also didn't realize that I needed different shoes to run at a track meet. So I show up to my first track meet and I just have my sneakers on, the sneakers I was just wearing at track practice. And I don't know why my coach didn't tell me this or no one told me this, but I just assumed in track meets, you just wore your sneakers. I know that sounds so crazy, but I didn't have any track spikes for my first meet. My first race is in an hour and someone informs me, Erica, where are your spikes? You need to be wearing spikes. And I'm like, what the hell are spikes? am I missing something here? And they're like, no, you need them to run. You can't run in your sneakers. And now I'm really freaking out. Now my stomach drops. And I am like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I'm going on in an hour. Does anyone have spikes? Is anyone a size 7? Holy crap, what is going on? And luckily, one of my teammates had a size 7, had the perfectly fitted track spikes for me. It was like a Cinderella story, it just slipped on like a Cinderella slipper, and I was ready to go. Now, even though I had my spikes, I still didn't really know how to start from a starting block. So I kind of was winging it. So I go up to get in my lane for my 200 meter and I'm looking around at the other people I'm racing against. I'm like, okay, how are they doing this? So I quickly like look at them and I'm like, okay, I understand like how this stance goes. Okay, so I just like copy them and get into the same position. And now I'm freaking out because I'm like, I haven't trained to go off of this starting block. I don't know if I'm going to be fast coming out of the blocks. And I also didn't train to react to the gunshot. Just waiting for that gunshot to go off is just the most nerve-wracking thing. And I have to really give it to track athletes for them doing this sport. I have so much respect for it. It is insane. So gunshot goes off and I'm just like, we're going. And I was just one of those athletes that was just so competitive. Even though I was put in a situation where I didn't really have it all figured out, I just went in and embraced the challenge. I'm like, okay, things didn't go my way to start the day off, but I'm going to win this 200 meter. So I actually ended up winning my first race of the day. And I went all out. I mean, my legs at the end of that race were jello. Like I almost collapsed. I was running so fast, just trying to outrun everyone else. And I'm wearing these spikes that I've never worn before. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that. But the point of the story is all athletes should be able to adapt. They should be able to be motivated by challenge. They should be able to get in there and be ready to go regardless of the circumstances. And at no point in that day did I say, I can't. And it's so important for female athletes to understand that no high level athlete, no champion has ever said, I can't. They say, I can. I will figure it out. I will do this. I believe in my ability, regardless of the situation, regardless of who my competition is, or the venue that I'm at, or the equipment that I have. Every athlete that is high performing will figure it out. So after my 200 meter, I had to wait another few hours for the 4x4 relay. And this one I didn't really know how to do either. Like we didn't really practice the handoff of the baton in the 4x4 relay. So I'm literally practicing it with my teammates moments before we run our event. And they're showing me how to hold my hand back to be able to grab the baton while I'm sprinting forward. And I'm like, I have never practiced this skill. What is going on? I just don't know any of this stuff. Like here I am as a soccer player, just winging it, trying track for the first time. And I'm just figuring it out on the fly at my first meet ever in my life. And we ended up winning our 4x4. So again, it's one of those things where you can just laugh at, okay, I might have been given the short end of the stick, no pun intended, but I still figured out how to get the baton and just sprint my butt off to the finish line. That's all I needed to do. I needed to just take the baton and just run as fast as possible for one lap and get it over with. So that was my crazy track experience in high school. And after that season, I was like, I'm one and done. I can't do this anymore. I do love track, but I just got so busy with soccer and track was like really demanding at the time. But I will say, I loved running sprints. I love just running an all out sprint and feeling so free. And it really is the most extreme thing the body can do. And I have so much respect for track. So now that I'm 35 and I'm training for a track meet, I'm still running into a few challenges, but in nowhere along this journey have I said I can't. And that is key. So in Florida, all the high school tracks are locked up. Every high school looks like a freaking prison. They just don't want anyone coming into the schools during the day. So I don't have access to an actual track. So I haven't practiced on the track surface. I've been training for the past 6 months on my neighborhood street, the soccer field in my neighborhood. So I've really only practiced my sprints and my 60-meter on grass and blacktop. I really need to get out there and practice on a track because that surface is so much more different. It really changes your mechanics and how you run your sprints. So again, I'm figuring it out. So I texted a mom who is a teacher at a local high school, and I was like, hey, I have a little over a month to get ready for this track meet and not completely embarrass myself. I need to have access to some sort of track. Is there anyone I can get in touch with so I can just come out once a week just to run a few sprints? I'm not going to bother anyone. I'm just here to run my sprints and then exit stage right. And she's like, I'll get you in contact with the AD. So now we're starting to make some progress here and get access to a track because I got to break these babies in and be ready in a little over a month. So I'm figuring it out, you guys. Another thing I don't have is a starting block. Again, they're a couple $100s. I really don't feel like buying them. I don't know how many track meets I'm going to do yet. So I don't have a starter block. I forget how to start from a starter block. So I think I might just watch a couple of YouTube videos and I think I'll be good to go. But again, I'm just figuring it out and I've been loving my training, and for me there's these challenges along the way, but I'm still going to make it work. I'm still going to get my sprints in even if it's in my neighborhood on my blacktop and grass. I'm still going to make time for my sprints even though the circumstances aren't ideal. And I just want to reiterate that for female athletes who want to perform at a high level and who want to be competitive, in nowhere in their vocabulary can there be, I can't. And I've heard excuses from female athletes. Well, I can't work out because I'm tired, or I can't work out because it's 20 degrees outside, or I can't work out because it's dark outside and it's too late. And I can't work out because I don't have access to this equipment, or I can't work out because I didn't get a perfect 10 hours of sleep a night and I didn't do my morning ritual and I didn't eat this or eat that. No, stop it. You have to still find a way to train for something that you love. And look, like there's never going to be a perfect circumstance on competition day. Like with my track meet, I tried to prepare the best I could in high school, but I show up and I'm like, oh, I didn't know I needed spikes. And nothing really could have prepared me for that. I just had to jump in and embrace the moment and get after it. And when I was in college, I also played a Sweet 16 playoff game in the snow. And if I had said in the practices before that, oh, well, I can't train because it's 20 degrees in Baltimore, Maryland at Johns Hopkins University, I wouldn't have been ready for that game in the snow. So you have to really think about, are you training in different environments and still preparing yourself and being consistent and not making excuses? No champion makes excuses. No high performing athlete makes excuses. And my question is, how many can'ts are you going to give yourself so that nothing ever gets done? Seriously, you need to stop saying, I can't. And I know motivation is one of those things where female athletes can struggle with from time to time, or parents get frustrated because they're female athletes making excuses and they're not motivated to train or to work hard or to put effort towards their dreams, or they see their daughter just not caring. And I know that can be frustrating. And I really want to break down these top 4 things to consider for helping with motivation. So if your female athlete is not motivated and she's making excuses time and time again, you have to think, number 1, is this a passion problem? Does she actually love her sport? Because if she had that innate passion for it, if she had developed that passion herself young, then those types of athletes embrace adversity. But if the passion is forced on her, or you pressured her and she doesn't even love her sport, then of course, when adversity strikes, she's going to freeze. She doesn't want anything to do with it. So you have to look, is this a passion problem? And this leads me to number 2. So if it is a passion problem, then does she need a break from the sport that she's playing? Does she need a break to try other things and to discover other passions? Sometimes girls just fall out of love with their sport, or it was pressured on them too young and it's not their dream. And maybe they're going to be motivated by other things. Maybe they're just not motivated by soccer anymore. Maybe they're not motivated by basketball anymore, or insert any sport here. But maybe they're motivated by being in band or being in the film club and they want to pursue that. Maybe that's their passion. There's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. Or you have some girls who do love their sport, like I did when I was young, but you can burn out from things you're passionate about. That's why I'm always repeating to you guys how important it is to get that recovery in and not always be on your grind 7 days a week, 365 days a year. There has to be seasons where it's go time and where it's, okay, we're going to cut back a little bit and do some other things so that she's not resenting her sport. It is possible to burn out from something that you love. And for parents listening, or even coaches listening, think about your career. Maybe you love coaching or whatever career that you do, or you're a doctor or you're a lawyer and you love serving your clients. But when you go through those busy times where you're working long hours and you do that for so long, sometimes you can resent that. So you have to think about, is my daughter going through that with her sport? So we have to know when to take a step back, especially if motivation is falling behind. Number 3. Now, this is a very interesting one because I see this happening the most, is your daughter getting her motivation from external things. And I know some of you parents are guilty of doing the whole, well, if you score a goal, we'll give you $100, or if you score a header, we'll give you an ice cream. And I get we want to reward things, but we also have to think about, what is it teaching our daughters? Is it teaching them to score that goal for that external validation and reward from mom and dad? Or we want her to get that goal because she wants to help her team and she has that internal drive and that intrinsic motivation. So be really careful with those types of rewards. And Dr. Amanda Stanek, who I had on the podcast before, she wrote the book Protect the Joy, and she talks about this. She talks about how if we only focus on external validation when our girls do a good job or they have a good game, then it doesn't help with their intrinsic motivation to want to do well for themselves or to want to do well for their team. So really keep that in mind. Another thing with the external validation is social media is a big issue. I don't want female athletes to get sucked into the external validation social media, because then they get excited about the post. Oh, well, we won this game and I'm not as excited about winning the game, but I'm more excited about posting that I won the game. Or I made this travel team, but I'm not as excited about making the team as I am posting about that I made the team. So really think, okay, should we be posting about all of our wins? Do we really need to get that external validation all the time? Or can you just keep the win to yourself and be like, wow, like I did it. I'm proud of myself. I don't need to tell the world. I don't need other people to cheer me on all the time. And I see parents of female athletes constantly posting about their wins or their goals or making a travel team or getting the all region select team or whatever you call it. Stop posting all these wins, because that's teaching girls that they always need external validation, and that takes away from their intrinsic motivation. Please be careful with that. And then the last one to help with motivation is your daughter getting enough balance of rewards and challenge? So as an example, maybe your daughter is on a team where she's the best player. So she is amazing. The coach loves her. She gets all the playing time, but it gets to a certain point where she doesn't feel challenged enough. And sometimes when there's not enough challenge and things are coming too easy, is when things can get boring for female athletes. And when things get boring, they lose motivation. So if she's been on a team for a while where she's the top player and it's just not really hard anymore or not developing her anymore, that can be another way to help with her motivation, is to maybe go to a more challenging environment and an environment that has a little bit more novelty so that she can continue to develop as a player. Or maybe on the opposite end, your daughter's on a team where she's not playing at all. She's not able to even get out there and build her confidence. And because of that, she's finding it way too challenging, way too impossible to break through, that it's destroying her motivation and it's destroying her confidence. So maybe she needs to go to a lower level team so that she can get those reps in again and she can gain that confidence and find that motivation again for her sport. So there's two sides to this. Sometimes girls are getting way too much reward, and then some girls are getting way too much challenge that it's like so impossible for them to even get playing time or to do anything good on their team. So really think about those two scenarios. I can't repeat enough how important motivation is for female athletes to stick with their sport. And if they're starting to say, I can't, or they're making excuses, really think about these four. Really think, okay, is this a passion problem? Does she need a break? Is she burnt out? Does she need to discover other passions? And that's okay. Is she getting too much external validation from mom and dad or from social media and her friends? And is she getting enough reward, or is she getting enough challenge? And for me right now, I love track. I love that I'm training for this meet, and I'm really doing it for myself. I was very ill all last year. That's another story on another podcast that I've told you guys before. But long story short, I was really ill last year and I really wasn't able to work out. It was a burden to still work during this time. And yes, I was still working full time, coaching, podcasting, writing, everything. But now that I'm on the other end of this illness, I just wanted to do something for myself. And I've always loved sprinting and I just wanted to challenge myself again. And I love it. I love training. I love working towards something. And I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it for my health. And I've just become just an even healthier human because of this. And I've learned so much from my sprint coach and mentor, Cynthia Montiglione, who I've had on this podcast before. And she's just really helped me get back on track, and I'm doing it because I just want to be a healthy person. And I know what it's like to not have your health, and that's my greater purpose to training. And I think that kind of brings in a fifth point here with the motivation is, what's your daughter's why? What's her purpose for playing her sport? Is it all about the end goal and playing D1 or just making the post on social media? I don't know. You need to ask her. You need to ask her and have a conversation. And for me, this track meet, I just want to train. I just love the process of training. I love the process of working on my health and becoming more vibrant. And I think it's very fair to ask your girl, what's your why? Let's check in. Why are you doing this? And when you have that deeper why, it's very hard to lose motivation. When you have that deeper why, even when adversity happens and you have failures, you get back up again because your why is so great. The failures, the challenges, they don't even phase you. They actually motivate you more and you get more motivation. You're like, let's freaking go. And for me right now, it's like, well, I don't really have a track. I don't have any starter blocks to practice on, but I'm going to figure it out. Like, let's freaking go. And I'm going to show up to this track meet. And I haven't done a track meet in, my gosh, over 15 years. And I'm going to show up and I'm going to give my best because I'm doing this for me. This is something I want. So I hope that helps you guys. And if you're struggling with motivation, if your daughter's struggling with motivation, please check in with her, ask her these questions, check in with her passion, check in with her why, check in if she needs a break, really ask her and have a conversation. Otherwise, you'll never know. And you're not going to be successful if you just nag your daughter and tell her, well, you need to get out and practice your skills, or you need to get out and do your speed. She has to have a why. And the why can't be you. The why can't be like, oh, well, my mom said so. No, you are setting her up for failure if that's her why. If you are pressuring her and you are pushing it on her, then she's not going to do it. People don't like being told what to do. None of us adults like being told what to do. So you think your teenage daughter likes being told what to do? But you can ask the right questions. And I encourage you to ask the right questions and just check in with her. I hope that helps you guys, and I will see you on the next solo episode. Please feel free to comment below if you have any recommendations for topics for these solo episodes. I'm really happy to help, and I love doing these. I love just talking about problems and struggles that female athletes and parents are dealing with today. So please chime in, let me know what you want, and we will chat next time. Bye, guys.